Carrie, what's up?
So I have a two-part question for you.
Okay, let's do it.
So the first part is, how do I keep my struggle with anxiety and depression from affecting my kids? And then the second part of that is, how do I explain it better to my husband so he can help me with that too?
Okay, give me a context. Tell me about home life.
I am a mom to 5 kids. They are 8, 7, 6, 4, and 2.5. And we homeschool. So we're together all the time.
Oh, Carrie,
Yep.
Carrie. Who told you have anxiety and depression?
Doctors. After I had kind of a short spell in my early 20s with some depression, and then that I was able to work through that. But right before we had our oldest, we had a baby who was born at 20 weeks.
Okay.
And that kind of kicked up, the depression because he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the anxiety, especially postpartum with my kids kind of following that. Because, I was worried about them. I was worried about the pregnancies and all that kind of stuff. And then a lot of that kind of quieted down, but then it's become, okay, am I going to be good enough for them? Am I going to teach them enough? Am I going to, and it...
Oh, God, you're not homeschooling all that to them too, are you?
I am. Which I love.
All right. Here we go. Yeah. But I love it. Okay. Where's Dad?
Dad works. He's home with us, though.
Okay.
Whenever he's not at work, he's with us.
Okay. All right. I want to reframe something for you real quick and then run through a bunch of things. Okay?
Sounds good.
And when you get off this phone, you could say, that guy's an idiot. He doesn't understand. And all good. And I might tell you some things you've never heard before, which makes me sad, but it may be the way it is. Okay?
Gotcha.
Whew. How old were you when you got married?
29.
Okay. Was that before or after your first, your first dance with feeling low? Dysthymia, depression?
That was before.
Okay. So you got married before, the depression was before?
The depression was before, sorry.
Okay. All right. I don't think your body is broken. I don't think you're malfunctioning. I don't think things aren't working right. Okay. I think you and I could talk for a long time, and you could paint me a picture of growing up and into your 20s and the way you expected the world to be and challenges physically and romantically, and your body put a blanket on some things. And
that sounds right.
You went and talked to a doctor, and they said, you have how many symptoms, for how long? This is some sort of depression. Here's some medication, and go get them. And then you got married, and y'all had a kid. And that kid is no longer with us. And your body put a GPS pin in hopes, in love, in dreams. Because if you're like me, if you're like my wife, the moment you found out you were pregnant, you started imagining pictures about this guy coming home from Christmas and bringing somebody home.
Yep.
You started imagining what that room was going to look like. And your body put a GPS pin in, hey, this particular thing, this relationship, gets us hurt. And like most moms who experience some sort of pregnancy loss or some sort of short-term, you went down a rabbit hole trying to figure out what you did.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And blame turns into shame, turns into this will never happen again, which is projecting a false sense of control into the future. That's anxiety. And so every time you got pregnant again, there was that joy and there was that mixture of, all right. And your body said, what are you doing? We got hurt real bad last time. And it sounds the alarm louder and louder and louder because it's just trying to keep you safe. I don't think you're broken. I think your body's working really well. It's frustrating as all get out, but I think it's working well, right? Like when
Right.
I got in my car this morning and I was dropping my son off at school and he took his seatbelt off early before we got right to the drop-off. And that stupid thing started beeping so loud and it wouldn't stop. And we both started laughing and then it got like miserable. The car's not broken. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do.
Right.
It was my job to figure out, like, my son's not in danger. We're going less than 1 mile an hour, right? Like nothing's wrong, but the car's working perfectly, right?
Right.
Now, I'm going to cast some judgments your way. I want you to tell me if I'm wrong or right.
Okay.
Okay? And you are not allowed to say I should or to let mom guilt override any of the things I'm going to say out loud, which I know is
Okay.
ridiculous, but here we go. Okay? You are dreadfully lonely. You are
Yes.
being buried under the care of 5 emotionally unregulated, maniacal little people under the age of 8. Your body has been a playground, a cafeteria, and an energy receiver. Some husband comes in, he's like, are we going to party or what? And you're like, okay. For a decade. 10 years. You have not had, in the nerd world, we call it agency or autonomy. And that is, I have control of my body. You haven't had that for 10 years. How old are
Yep.
you?
42.
Okay, 25% of your life. And my guess is if we talked about your life from 0 to 18, you didn't have a lot of control during that either.
Yep.
So let's go with 30 years, 75% of your life. Okay? And it's just alarms ringing off the hook. And by the way, you know what we should do? We should also be a school teacher, a chef, a janitor, a disciplinarian. Right?
Yep.
So you're not broken. Your body is telling you we're past the capacity of what we can do.
Yep.
And what was your baby's name who passed at 20 weeks?
Caleb.
Okay, Caleb. Just like with Caleb, you had plans.
Yeah.
And you probably, if you're like me, had some judgments about other parents who don't have these kind of plans. I'm going to have a bunch of kids. I'm going to homeschool them. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then your body said, yeah, no, we're not.
Right.
Okay. And are you on the medication merry-go-round?
I am.
Okay. Hey, don't apologize for it. Don't be like, yeah. No, you're getting through it. But do you also feel like you're missing a big chunk of your life?
I do.
Like you're witnessing your own life with sunglasses on indoors.
Yes. That is a perfect description of it.
Okay. I see my kids, I see them, but I feel like there's a barrier between all of us. Okay. Am I wrong on any of that stuff or am I right?
No, you got it.
Okay. When I get backed into a corner created by the way I said things should be, have to be, ought to be, will be, and I cement those shoulds and haves and wills with judgments of other people who don't, right? I'll never do that because I'm this kind of dad. Then the world has a funny way of being like, oh, really? Okay, watch this. Right? Here's the way I handle this. I take my arm, and this is all metaphorical, and I wipe the table completely clean of everything that I knew to be true and that I swore on and that I promised. And I put all the variables back on the table one at a time. What does that mean? Everything's off the table. Am I in love and dedicated to my husband? Yes. And him with me? I'm going to assume yes. Okay.
Yep.
We love these 5 kids, even though they're maniacs? Yes. Those are unchangeable, immovable. In fact, when I tried to swipe them off the table, they stayed. I can't move those. They're there. Right? And if you have a faith practice, that one doesn't move either. Okay? So then you pick up one off the floor that you knocked on the floor and you hold it. Do I have to homeschool? I want to. I think it's the best thing, but I'm drowning. And I would rather have to maybe explain some things that my kids learned in school. I'd rather have to explain some things than have to pass on a dysregulated, unregulated nervous system to my children.
Right.
Right? When do you ask for help or support?
I have family around who comes over, but
When do you ask for help and support?
when I'm drowning, when I'm starting to cry over nothing.
You don't want to, but you have
Right.
to. And so you're going to pick up off the floor. I can do this.
Mm.
And you have to say, I can with help and support. Fair?
Yep.
You're going to have to grieve this superwoman picture where you can do it all because, I'm going to tell you the truth, you can't. And that's okay. You never could in the first place. You just told yourself you could, and you created a big story about women who didn't.
Yep.
And now we're choosing reality. And here's a weird thing. When you choose reality, you're forced to choose boundaries. That's when you look at your 8-year-old and you say, I am unable to meet need X right now. I'll be back in 30 minutes. I need you. Like yesterday, my wife was out of town and it was several days. I'm over my head. And I looked at my son and said, can you please make your sister a lunch? Because I'd forgotten about it. And he's like, I got it, Dad. I was embarrassed. I had to ask my 14-year-old to help me get 2 kids out the door. It's not that hard. But I did. And he was amazing at it. And it gave him a sense of purpose. All I have to say is, you have to choose reality. And when your body realizes you're driving your own life again, when you have autonomy again, even when you're breastfeeding, even when your husband comes home and he's like, we got 5 kids. I've been thinking about, let's party all day. And you're like, oh my gosh. Like even when you feel being pulled in all these different directions, you're driving. Hey, honey, here's what I need today. Here's how you can love me today. How can I love you today? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's the state of your finances?
Pretty good. We are working on, our debt is almost completely paid off.
Awesome. You're going to find some peace after that. Okay?
Yes. Yeah. And he's really nice, and he takes care of, he gives me updates, but he takes care of most of that for me, so I don't have to carry that too.
Well, sometimes in an effort to help and be supportive, we take things off people's plates, and there's that little bitty voice in your head, especially if you come from a financially insecure home, that begins to wonder if everything's okay. So I don't really care who pushes the button to pay the bill every month or who writes the check every month, but it does help for everybody to put their eyes on something.
Gotcha.
And all that is hey, a 30-minute meeting once a week. Hey, honey, can we talk about calendar? Can we talk about what's he do for a living?
He's a funeral director.
Because why not, right? Why not? Why not come home to somebody who's glassy-eyed because he's been sitting in other people's pain all day, right?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was like, I understand, like, for him, so he hasn't dealt with that kind of, he's never gone through anxiety or depression.
No, but he's had business capacity issues before. He gets capacity and he gets boundaries.
Right. And then when he comes home, for him, when I'm crying over, normal stuff that just goes, just the volume. For him,
you have
he's
no
been
margin.
with people.
You have no margin.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's been with people all day who have lost someone, and it's life or death all day long. And you're right. Like, he sits in their grief. He sits in their pain with them. And then he comes home and he doesn't have margin because...
Hold on. Whoa. Very similar. In the same way your kids have drained your margin from you, and I want you to take your margin back, you and those kids get his first fruits, not his job.
True.
The people who come to him get what's left over after you're whole and those kids are whole. Okay? And that's his journey to figure that out. And I had to learn that one the hard way.
Yeah.
Okay? Because if you don't, you're going to start to resent him. And that's not fair for him. It's not fair for you.
Right.
And he's going to come home to a crying, sobbing wife who wanted 5 kids and wants to homeschool. And he's going to start resenting you and himself. And that's not fair either.
Right.
So, all that to say is I don't know that you need to explain what anxiety feels like.
Okay.
I think you need to be able to say, here's what I need right now. We're both busy. He's got a team. If he's a funeral home director, he tells his team, here's what I need. I need you to make these phone calls. I need you to answer these things. I need you to call. He's got a team. That's what a director does. I need you to take on that role in your home. Here's what I need. Here's how this home needs to operate. And not, well, all the kids need this, this, and this. No. You go first. What do you need? You need some help. You need sleep. You need to put intimacy on the calendar. You need to put feeding schedules. All your kids need chores. You probably need to look at a local school. Because while you have a 0 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 5 and a 6 and a 7, that's a lot. And you'll have to grieve the fact that your kids are in school because you had a different picture. Or they can go to a homeschool co-op. I don't know. I don't want to get a bunch of hate mail, but I'm just telling you this. You can't keep going as you're going. And I don't want you to tell your husband, hey, this is how my body's broken. It's not. This is my body letting me know I'm over capacity. And we got to do some things differently. And that's okay. We had a plan. It's not going to work. It's the beautiful thing about getting older. Is you kind of get to decide what it looks like. Here's how all this begins. You and your husband go out, and I want you all to have breakfast, and I want you to hire a babysitter. And probably you can't afford it because you have 5 kids. It's going to be $1 million an hour. Just be the way that is. But I want you to hire a babysitter. I want you all to go out and say, okay, 10 years. 10 years, 6 pregnancies, 6 kids. 1 kid's passed away. How do we want this house to feel like when you get home from work? How do I want this house to feel like when I wake up in the morning? I want to be so excited you're home. I want to be so excited to be a mom of 5 maniac kids. And here's what has to be true for these things to work. I'm going to send you a copy of Building a Non-Anxious Life, okay? I want you to read that book. I want you and him to read that. And I want you to use those 6 daily choices as a guidepost, as a map for your family. And just talk through them together. Most of the funeral directors I've met in the past are very pragmatic people. They're very spreadsheety kind of people. He may be perfect to look at this roadmap and go, okay, we can do these things. Really grateful that you're out there loving those kids the way you are. Keep at it. Have those hard conversations, and you get to decide what this thing looks like. But that also means you're going to have to decide what help and support and care that you need. You're a great mom.